Hello, my name is Sophie Llewellyn-Smith. This is a speech about the education system in the UK. Ladies and gentlemen, I have two children who attend primary school here in the UK. And after a term of their attending the local primaries, I've had a chance to compare the system with others that I am more familiar with. For example, the French school system, which I went through myself, or the education system in Belgium, which is where we have just been living for 3 years. And I should preface my speech by explaining I'm going to be focusing more on primary education than on secondary school. There are a number of aspects of learning at school that I think are quite characteristic of the British system. The first of these is cooperation and group work. In British schools, you'll often see the desks and chairs in a classroom laid out in small groups, unlike in other education systems where the pupils will sit in rows facing the teacher and being lectured to, if you like. And this is because teachers in the UK like to assign group work so that the children have to work together and so that they can learn from each other. And also because this allows the teachers to adapt the difficulty of the material that they give each group so that they can work with more able pupils or those who are lagging behind. Secondly, I think that the British school system encourages personal expression of ideas much more than other systems. For example, in the French education system, if you write an essay, you're not supposed to use the word I think, I believe. Instead, you are supposed to lay out the facts and the arguments and come to, let's say, the logical conclusion. Whereas the UK fosters personal expression so that children are encouraged to voice their own opinion, which should, of course, be based on facts as well. Third point, the use of the red pen is not encouraged in this country. On the whole, I think teachers don't cross out every spelling mistake made by the child with big red lines. And on the contrary, the idea is to try to encourage children and reward them for what they are doing well, rather than, if you like, punish them for everything that they're doing badly and not achieving. There's a lot of use of stickers as rewards, for example, when children are trying hard at school. And finally, I think that the British education system encourages project work rather than the sort of rote learning that you see in other systems. In other countries, there's a lot of learning by heart and regurgitating lessons that you have copied out or learnt from a book. That doesn't really happen in the UK. Although it has changed somewhat with the new national curriculum because it was felt that children needed to get back to basics a bit more and, for example, learn their times tables much more rigorously. So the pendulum has swung a little bit towards a more traditional style of learning in the past couple of years. There is a feeling that there needs to be more focus on the 3 R's, as they're known here: reading, writing, and arithmetic. And there is a need to go back to perhaps a more traditional style of learning where you at least learn number facts by heart, times tables, all that sort of thing. But despite this change of focus, I think my previous points still hold true. So the question now is, what results are achieved by this kind of education system? I'm sorry to say that the results are not particularly brilliant. The UK is certainly not top of the international league tables in terms of pupils' results at schools when you compare academic achievement with certain benchmarks. So I'll try and look at the results in terms of pros and cons, if you like, things that the system is good at fostering and areas of weakness. I think this is an education system that is quite good at fostering creativity, independent thought, much more than other systems where the pupils are like sheep just listening to a teacher. It also encourages teamwork, which is important for one's working life further down the line. And perhaps the children enjoy school more and are not left with a legacy of having been miserable for years and being told off by teachers for years for not being good enough. On the other hand, this is not, I think, a system that particularly encourages intellectual rigour. For example, you might find teenagers in the UK who can't really structure their thoughts well enough to write a proper essay. And this has a real knock-on effect once they reach university. So it's not a sufficiently rigorous system as I see it. And also, children can end up quite ignorant. I have to say that when it comes to general knowledge, the UK performs very poorly. And finally, and importantly, I think this is a system which fosters a sort of sense of entitlement, because children are never really told that they're not good enough, and because they're never held back a year, unlike in the French system, for example. Everybody goes through to the next year up, even if they're not meeting the benchmarks. I think young people are left with a sense that they are good enough at everything, and that everybody should be able to go to university and get a good degree and get any job that they like. This is very problematic for university lectures. In conclusion, I would simply say that no system is perfect, but for children who are creative, or if you're thinking about a system that is trying at least to encourage a love of learning, then I quite like the British system, at least in primary school. But it very much depends, of course, on what your child's teacher is like. Thank you.